Okay, so now we need to fill out the radians around the circle. And we know by definition that a radian is based on the arc length and the radius in our case is just 1. So flip your paper over, and we're going to go to the back of your unit circle, and we're going to kind of do the proof on the back of it so that you have the work and can work it out. So by definition of a radian, the angle theta is equal to the arc length s divided by the radius r. Well, in our case, our radius is 1, so we just need to really worry about the arc length. And arc length is kind of like circumference, so 2 pi r over 1, or r, and these r's anyway are going to cancel out. So 2 pi is what's in a whole circle. So if I go back to my unit circle, when I start, you've gone obviously 0 radians. And if you go the whole circle, we just proved that you would go 2 pi radians. Please note that I'm putting these on the line without the label. When there's not a label on the angle, it's implied that it's in radians. And now we're going to use one of your favorite math F words, fractions, to fill out the rest of the circle. If the whole circle has 2 pi, then half the circle over here at 180 degrees has pi. And you could spend the time doing the math to convert every one of these, but you won't have time to do that because you actually have to memorize the circle. And there's going to be a pattern. So let's keep doing our fractions and we'll see the pattern. So if this is half the circle is pi, half of this is pi over 2, so up here is pi over 2. And when we talked about the degrees, we talked about how this was split up into 3 sections of 30. Well, so if I take pi over 2 and I divide it by 3, pi over 2 divided by 3 is going to get you pi over 6. And if you need to see that math, pi over 2 divided by 3 or multiplied by 1/3 is going to get you pi over 6. So at 30 degrees, you're at pi over 6. So now we know that every time we go 30 degrees, it's worth a pi over 6. So this is 30 degrees. 30 degrees is equal to pi over 6. So if I go 30 more degrees, I'm going to have 2 pi over 6. Don't write 2 pi over 6, because 2 pi over 6 is going to reduce to pi over 3. And then if you go 30 more degrees, you're going to have 3 pi over 6s, or 3 sets of 30 degrees. So 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6. Well, 3 pi over 6 is the same thing as pi over 2. Go 30 more degrees, and you're going to get 4 pi over 6, which is 2 pi over 3. If you go 30 more degrees, you're going to get 5 pi over 6. And if you go 30 more degrees, you get 6 pi over 6, which is pi. 30 more degrees, 7 pi over 6, and then 8 pi over 6, which is going to reduce to 4 pi over 3. 30 more degrees is going to get you 9 pi over 6, or 3 pi over 2. 30 more degrees, this was 9 pi over 6, so this is going to be 10 pi over 6, which is 5 pi over 3. 30 more degrees, this was 10, this is going to be 11 pi over 6. And a good way to check to make sure you're right is this has to be 12 pi over 6, because 12 divided by 6 is 2, there's your 2 pi. So now you filled out most of the radians. We're going to fill out the other radians. Grab a different color. So I just want to make note really quick. We did all the 30-degree increments, and we ended up counting to 12, because 12 divided by 6 is 2 pi. So now we're pretty much going to count to 8. So I'm going to take this pi over 2, which is 90 degrees, and I'm going to go to 45 degrees. Half of 90 is 45, so half of pi over 2 is pi over 4. So every 45 degrees is a pi over 4. And if we're going to divide by 4, then I hope that you would guess that there has to be 8 of these, because 8 divided by 4 is going to get me back to my 2 pi. So 1 pi over 4, if you go 45 more degrees, you would get 2 pi over 4, which we already have there. 45 more degrees is going to get me my 3 pi over 4. 45 more degrees gets me 4 pi over 4, or pi. This is going to be 5 pi over 4. This would be 6 pi over 4, which reduces to 3 pi over 2. And then 7 pi over 4. And then my 8 pi over 4, which is the 2 pi. So now you've filled out all the radians. So now you have all the degrees and all of the radians. The last thing we should talk about is the ordered pairs, and that's going to involve a little bit of math. So what I need you to do is go back to Edmodo and watch the next video so that you can see where the ordered pairs come from.